My name is Joanne Higginbotham. I'm a professor at Lee University in the College of Education, and I'm going to be talking to you today about teaching reading comprehension strategies. We want our children, our students, to be able to understand material that they read. Good readers are aware of what they do understand in material. They are also aware of what they do not understand. They know how to use appropriate strategies to fix problems or when they come across things that they don't understand in their reading. We as adults who are proficient readers tend to do this automatically. We have strategies that we use within our heads as we process the information, and it's automatic. We don't even think about how we are going into that text and thinking about it. The first strategy I want to share with you is teaching students to monitor their comprehension. This is what we do when we are proficient readers. We monitor our comprehension as we read, and we fix those problems as we come across them. The first activity I want to talk about is the story map. Story maps are actually graphic organizers that can be used to help students frame the parts of the story that they need to understand. It helps them in their comprehension. They're also writing as they are thinking about it, and reading, writing, thinking, talking, all of this goes together to help a student comprehend material. Story maps are graphic organizers that can be used both before reading, during, and after. The teacher may draw the map for the student, may print it for them to have in front of them, or the student may draw their own story map. And with this, they will label or write inside each component of the map the things about the story, beginning with the title of the book, the author in the center of the map. Then they will move to the main characters that are in the story, write those in the other, and even the supporting characters that are in the story. And then they move over to the summary, which is a block in which they will summarize the story, what it's about. And then they will move into the dramatic conflict or the problem. In every story, the narrative, there is usually a problem to be solved or a dramatic conflict, something that the main character has to overcome and make right at the end of the story. So they move on then to write about that conflict or that problem within the story. And then finally at the end, they write the solution. How did the character solve the problem? How did they resolve that? So that is the story map, which is a wonderful tool for comprehension, and students are able to frame this in a way that they can get the meaning from the story. They actually do some summarization, and it helps them combine those reading and writing skills. The next strategy I would like to talk about is called think alouds. Think alouds have often been called eavesdropping on someone's thinking. This is a strategy that a teacher can do with her students or his students, in which they actually read through material and show those students that monitoring process that they do inside their heads, how they understand this material. Think alouds are great for enhancing comprehension. It helps students to think about rereading, reading ahead when they don't understand something. The main thing is that it slows down the reading process, and it actually gets the students to thinking about their own thinking. I'm going to demonstrate a think aloud that I might use with my students. I'm reading an article called The West Nile Virus. Before I read the article, and something students should do, is I've set some questions in my head. What do I want to find out about what is in this article? One of the main things that I want to find out is what is the evidence for the spread of this virus. So I begin to read. Birds, like people and alligators, are a host of West Nile virus. A mosquito is the vector that carries the virus between animals. Oddly, at least 37 mosquito species can carry the virus. Whenever you want the students to see that you're thinking, you may put your finger to your temple, meaning now I'm thinking, so this is what's going on in my mind. Or you may put it under your chin. So I'll put my finger under my chin as I'm thinking through this. From my background knowledge, because students are going to bring background knowledge to their reading, I decide that host means where the virus lives. But doesn't a host die from the virus? I'm confused, and so I asked that question. Also, from my background, I recall the term vector. It was from my math study that I recall that word, but this is a different meaning. From the text information, I understand that mosquitoes carry many diseases between animals. I continue reading. As birds both spread West Nile and die of it, a multi-pronged effort to study the disease in wildlife is starting to yield results. Now I'm thinking again, this statement fits my purpose for reading. This is what I wanted to find out. I want to know the evidence for the spread of the West Nile. So I skim down the article and see subheads like lab studies, field studies. From my background knowledge, I think the text organization will be categories of different types of studies. I think I will take notes about the results so that I can compare the different categories. The next strategy I'd like to mention is graphic organizers. These can be used in any content area. They're especially good when you are trying to comprehend reading material. The first one has been around a long time, first developed by Donna Ogle, and it's called the KWL. What I know, what I want to know, what I have learned. So it is used actually before, during, and after reading. Students can develop their own charts. As you can see on the slide, the KWL chart has 3 parts with this simple one. And so I think about what I know about the topic, and I write that in the first column. Then I think about what I want to know as I'm reading, similar to what I did when I was showing the Think Aloud. So I read, or I think about what I want to know when I read. And then after I read, I think about what I have learned. So then I write what I've learned in that third column. So here we are again, putting together the reading and the writing so that we are really getting the most of the meaning from the text. Your students can also develop their own charts, and this chart, KWL, has been expanded to many different types. One of the types that it has been expanded to is called the KCLQ. They can make their own KCLQ chart, which is similar to the KWL, except it is 4 columns. In the first column is what I think I know about this topic or subject that I'm getting ready to read about. The second column, what is confirmed in the reading after I read. The third column, new information I have learned. And then the fourth, questions based on this new information. So students can make their own charts, they can fold them over and have their own little booklet of charts with several pages where they can do this on different topics. So this is something hands-on they can do, and again, the writing activity is involved with the other part. The Venn diagram is another chart that can be used, or graphic organizer, and this Venn diagrams are good also for many subject areas at reading informational text or reading narrative text. And in the Venn diagram, the student may draw this, or as you see on the slide, it's very simple. It is made up of 2 circles which are conjoined, and in the center, if you are comparing places, people, places, things, you are trying to show how they are different and how they are alike. So in the center, you would have same, which is how these are the same, and on the 2 sides, how they are different, where you have labeled the 2 separate things that you are comparing. The fourth strategy I would like to talk about is developing questions. By developing questions, students become aware of whether they can answer questions and they understand better what they're reading. They need to do purpose-setting questions before they read. You know, what is their purpose for reading? What do I want to find out in my reading? Similar to what we saw on the KWL chart. For example, they may also say, how does this information that I have discovered fit in with the information that I already know? What is in my background? So developing questions is very important. Students need to know how to do this. Another strategy is answering questions. Teachers are going to ask questions of them over the reading material, and there are basically 4 types of questions that they will ask. They will ask the right there, kind of question, the think and search type of question, the author and you question, and the on your own question. The right there question is very much recall, recognition. It will be very easy to find in the material. It may be one word, it may be a sentence, a phrase, but it will be easy to recognize and find, and those are called right there. The other is think and search. They are also in the text, but you may have to look through, and it may be repeated in more than one place, but you would have to search through for this particular, to find the answer to this particular question. The author and you question requires the student to draw on their own informational background. So they would have to think about what they've learned from this material and how it fits with what they already know about the information from their own experience. Finally, on your own, they may or may not be able to use the material to answer this. Hopefully they would. For example, if a student read a story about a boy whose best friend moved away and he thought he would never see him again, and you read the story about that and all that happened, well, the question might be, what would you do? How would you feel if your best friend moved away and you never saw them again, or you thought you would never see them again, and you would have to write about that? How would you feel? What would you do? You might draw from the story, but your feelings might be different. Certain feelings, what you did might be different. So this would be something you would have to answer without directly finding that necessarily in the text. Considering reading strategy comprehension, I'd like to talk about summarizing as a final part of that before I go into some vocabulary. The next one is summarizing. Students need to be able to summarize what they have read or what they have listened to. And it's difficult sometimes because students have a hard time sifting through and separating what is important from what is not important. So you really need to work with students on being able to do this, because when they get to college and they have to take notes and they have to summarize and they have to get the very essence of what their teacher has talked about, they really need to have this skill. So a good strategy is to teach them how to summarize before that happens. And they need to know, what is the main idea? What is the important information that I need to get from this? One thing a teacher can do is give them a framed paragraph. You may write this on the board, you may have a copy for them, or you can have the students write it, and you simply give them prompts. This will help them pull that information out of the text. For example, today's reading, and they write, what was it about? One key idea was, that would be the prompt. Another prompt, this is important because. Another key is, and then this matters because. So you have given them some prompting words that will help them pull the very essence of what they need to get from this material. And as they practice the strategy and get better at it, they will be able to summarize better and better. So these kinds of strategies and tools you need to explicitly teach to the students so that they make it their own. And once you have demonstrated, you have taken them through it, they will be able to use these strategies to comprehend better. One final thing is vocabulary instruction. Vocabulary is comprehension, knowing vocabulary. Students who have a large, wide vocabulary in their reading comprehend much better than those students who do not. I think the best way to do this is start teaching them at whatever level is appropriate in your curriculum, root words. If they know root words, then, and the meanings of those words, they will be able to define words that they might not have ever seen before. One thing they could do is draw a vocabulary tree. This is a great activity for helping them to practice and to learn root words. And you can get a dictionary of root words and that have a lot of root words, their meanings, and then have them draw a vocabulary tree in which they put the root word at the bottom or trunk of the tree. And as they go up the tree, they discover all those words that have that root word in it. First start with the words they know. Where did they learn these words? For example, they may see the word contract, which has the word tract. The root word tract means to pull or drag. So a contract would be a pulling together. How did they know that? They may use that word and say, well, my dad used that word when he was signing a contract, and I asked him what that word was. So words that they know, where they learned those words, and then introducing new words to them and new root words. If we start doing that with children, teaching them those root words and developing words beyond that, they will begin to internalize those and be able to comprehend much better in their reading. There are many, many ways that you can make that come alive, and I love the vocabulary tree because they can draw this, they can write, and again, you're bringing together those modalities that are so good for them. Finally, I love to use the arts in different things, different kinds of understanding and strategies. So using movement, this is something I've done with my students, and it's teaching them the word susurrus. I might say, when I say loud, clap your hands loudly, and they would. So just imagine the students going through this. When I say loud, clap your hands loudly. When I say susurrus, snap your fingers. When I say loud, stomp your feet. When I say susurrus, whisper, susurrus, 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 susurrus. What do you think susurrus means? And usually they say, well, it means quiet, or maybe it means whisper, and it does. It means a quiet, rustling sound or a whisper, like a susurrus in the susurrus of the wind, the susurrus of the waves as they pound against the sand. So getting students to use a physical response as they're learning, any kinds of ways that you can bring together the arts, the reading, the writing, the talking, the thinking, all together will help their comprehension and their reading. Thank you very much.